Do I have to give you my real name? Okay, use the AKA.
AKA.
Moose. I was born in May 1945, born in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I was a foreign kid ever since I was about 6 months old. I just wanted to get away from the area for a while and see what part of life was, and it taught me a lot on how to survive and how to take care of yourself, even at a young age. And like I say, there were a few times at the hobo camp, they were wondering what we were going to eat. As long as there was a bridge near or animals out in the woods, we managed to eat. We'd eat pigeons and rabbits, squirrels, whatever was available. But one guy was telling me that on one trip, I think it was when I went out to Newport News, Virginia by rail, guy was telling me that they were at a camp and they all jumped on the train, and one guy come up missing from the camp. They couldn't figure out what had happened to him. He wound up missing a step and got his leg cut off by the train. So that was the one thing that I basically remember. You always wanted to make sure the train was either stopped or going real slow and be real careful. And a few of the guys were telling me about different towns they'd gone through that were haunted. And I can't quite remember a lot about it, but it was something that, just never completely went away. It's a brotherhood, which it is, or was at that time, where everybody looked out for everybody else in the group. Nobody ever went hungry. As long as there was enough food for one, there was enough food for everybody. Grew up, went to service, where I did construction and demolition. Was stationed in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. Was there for 26 months. We went to Okinawa from there and Vietnam. So I've been around a little bit of the world anyway, got to see different countries. We've had experiences there too. In fact, when I was going to basic training at Fort Dix, the kid that was in the foxhole with me on the hand grenade range dropped a live hand grenade without the pin in it, and I managed to throw it out of the hole and get us both down to safety. Got chewed out by the sergeant because it was a close call, but we survived that. Went to Vietnam for 5.5 months, managed to survive that, came home. I guess in some ways I'm a little bit special, being I've walked away from death at least 3,000 times since I've been back from Vietnam. Came home, went back into house construction, did that for about 8 months, flew off of a roof. I was carrying a sheet of plywood at the grate notch, and it was rather windy that day, and the wind took the sheet of plywood and me off the roof. Well, I flew down the valley and over a church about 5.5, 6 miles carrying a sheet over my head. And when I got to the other side of the church, my feet were going at a rapid rate, and I let the sheet go and I went the other way. And when I walked back up to the job site, the boss asked me, "What happened? Where you been?" Down across the valley there, over the other side of that church. He said, "What are you doing there?" I said, "Flying a sheet of plywood." I think that was how hang gliding started, to say the least. So I signed out a golf club from the clubhouse, signed out a bucket of balls, and I went out to the driving range, and I'm beating these 4 golf balls to death. I'm hitting some of them 500, 600, 700 yards out. The guy walks up and he said, "How you doing?" I says, "Not bad, I guess." He says, "You're a pretty good shot with that thing." "What do you mean?" I didn't know who the guy was, and I know nothing about playing golf. I still don't. And he said, "My name's Arnie Palmer." I said, "Well, congratulations." They called me Moose, and I went to smack him some more. Well, they have marker posts out so many feet. Well, I was hitting the marker post about every third of ball down the range. So he said to me, "Why don't you play a game with me?" And I said, "Sir, I don't want to insult you, but I don't know how to play golf." He said, "Well, looks like you're doing pretty good here." Well, he coerced me into playing a game with him. First game of golf I ever played in my life, other than miniature golf. I beat him by 7 strokes a game. We were up on the the third hole, and it was a long shot across the lake. Well, I teed off and I smacked the ball, and I see it hop across the lake. I figured the ball's gone. We get up on the green, and I'm looking all over the place for the ball, and it's not to be found. I figured, well, the Fisher now playing golf. And when he went to shoot out, I pulled the flag out and I looked down. There was the ball. Somehow or another, I made a hole in one. I didn't quite believe I ever would do that, but I did it. Golf was never my game. I was never really interested in it. It was a gentleman. And the second time I played him, I think I only beat him by 3 strokes, being I felt bad for him. Well, I've got a feeling that God has been looking out for me pretty well. A friend of mine didn't quite believe, and I told him one night, I said, let's take a ride out to Point Pleasant. So we did. He said, what's here? I told him, can he look out over the water? And he did. There was fire dancing on the water. I said, well, that's God and the devil going around and around out there. And he didn't believe it. So I told him, I said, one day you'll get a sign from God himself to let you know he's really there. Well, about 6 months after we had the conversation and went to Point Pleasant, an angel appeared in his grandmother's garden. There was a real bright light, and I was living about 4 miles away, and the bright light woke me up. About 3 or 4 months after that, I ran into him, and I said, hey, from now on, whenever you get a sign from God, how about you keep it down to a minimum? With my brother for about a year down in Florida, and they were some hairy experiences. There were times we went out at Port Canaveral in Florida when we shouldn't have been out there, and we almost went to the bottom and became crab bait, catching sharks out there. The one time I really got nervous, we were out about 1.5 miles offshore. We had the nets out, and we got hooked up with a manta ray. Well, these things are a bit large. And I said to my brother, what do we do now? And he said, pray a lot. Of course, we were on his back, and he was lifting us out of the water. Well, after about 20 minutes of prayer and looking out of both sides of the boat and seeing about 20 foot on each side, which was the animal itself, we were in the middle of his back like a cork. I said, Zach, I really don't want to be doing this anymore. But that was one of the times I was truly nervous about being out in the water. There was an occasion when I was down in Florida working for the county. We had a fellow on the job, and I was telling him, that my dad comes back occasionally to visit. Now, my dad passed away in 1967, and this was about 1981 or 1980. And I was telling him, every once in a while I'll do something silly, and my dad will smack me in the back of the head. Well, he didn't believe it would happen. So I said, RC, one of these days, my dad will come and pay you a visit. Well, it was about 3 weeks had gone by. He came in, he said, do me a favor. I said, what's that, RC? He said, tell your dad I now believe. I said, well, you tell him. He said, well, how will I know he's there? I said, he'll let you know. It was about 3 weeks had gone by again. And he said, your father's one strong guy. I said, yeah, I know that. What did he do? He said, well, I was trying to get up out of the chair, and he had me by both shoulders, holding me in the chair so I couldn't get up. He says, now I believe that people can come back to visit. If you can make one person laugh or smile each and every day, you've accomplished more than any millionaire. I've tried to live by that. I guess that's it, huh? The end.
guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. The scene was rocking, all were digging the sound. Igor came back by his baying hound. The coffin daggers were about to arrive, and the boat pulled through, the kid kicked alive. They played the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They played the monster mash. Out from his coffin, Mac's voice did ring. Seems he was troubled by just one thing. Opened the lid and shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvanian twist?" It's now the monster mash, and it's a graveyard smash. It's caught on in a flash. It's now the monster mash. Now everything's cool, Jackson wanted a Dan, and my monster mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them boys send you that you can monster mash and do my graveyard smash. You'll catch on in a flash that you can monster mash. A brand new recipe. I got a hot pot for $2 and I know it's right over the hill. There's soda pop and dancing free, so if you wanna have fun, come home with me. Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? I'd like cooking something up with me.
What a ham! Now we just gotta get you on the internet so you can watch it.